Hello. So there were these people I knew in Illinois, and I knew quite a few people, obviously, after moving there as a teenager, after growing up in New Jersey. But I moved there because of my biological parents choosing to, for my biological sister and I think it was 1998. And, I don't want to be on the cheerleading squad. I've discussed that in prior videos. There is one video, or one particular, well, yeah, there's this one female who seemed to have watched a little too many videos, and she doesn't seem to understand that just because she watched a video of people from New Jersey, whether the video was a TV show or a movie, that didn't depict everybody from New Jersey. That female's name, well, there's two of them in specific. One, Susan Ross, and then the other, Tiffany Oswainy. And Tiffany Oswainy was considered a co-captain, and her little sister, so it was kind of ironic in certain regards, where my little sister and I, biologically, did not necessarily get along. Tiffany Oswany's little sister and her did. There was a little bit of competition, but it realistically was because Tiffany Oswany's little sister was actually pretty and decent looking compared to Tiffany Oswany herself. She was shorter, she was cuter, she had far more to offer than Tiffany Oswany. And Tiffany Oswany, on the other hand, all she had was watching movies, videos, and unless she had gotten surgery to get her face fixed, it didn't change who she was inside though. And the same goes for a male that I didn't know she had dated at one point in time. I had no idea. I had moved to Illinois, didn't know anybody's history, didn't really care. It's just one of those, I'll get to know you, and you'll prove yourself to me one way or another. So after a few months of living in Crystal Lake, and after a few months of being on the cheerleading squad, which again, I understand how I got on the varsity cheerleading squad. I just didn't understand how the JV squad was not varsity and how the varsity squad was not JV at Crystal Lake South. And I said that, when I said that at a cheerleading practice, a bunch of the JV cheerleaders kind of smiled and were like, thanks. Some were upset, and the ones that would have stayed on JV in that comparison, such as Leah. However, the ones that actually were what I thought were the equivalent of varsity because of what I saw in New Jersey, and I said as such, that really upset the varsity cheerleaders, especially Tiffany Oswany. And it was one of those, well, my sister can do that. Well, if she could do that, she would have been on varsity in New Jersey. If your little sister could do what was it? Cartwheels, round off, back handspring, forward handsprings, back flips, and forward flips, and she was on JV, she would have been on varsity. She would have been like the dichotomy of a younger high schooler who would have actually made the varsity squad at a younger age. Tiffany Oswany did not like that. She was, well, I could do a cartwheel. You wouldn't make the freshman squad in New Jersey. And it was one of those, that's nice, and I mean that in the Anna way, I don't care. And Tiffany Oswany, whereas her little sister, I can't remember what her name is shorter than me. She's like at my shoulder. And, she could yell. She's tiny. I do admit, like, she wasn't expecting my strength when we were doing certain things, because every prior, I guess, switch, I guess, is when they were working. So Tiffany Oswainy had said, we should work with the junior varsity squad and, you know, learn some stuff from them. As soon as she said that, I said, why don't you do that from the beginning? Oh, the looks I got from the varsity squad. But then the ones from the JV squad, they were just kind of like, oh, okay. Okay, we thought she was bad, but not so bad. I mean, she's giving us credit where credit's due. And I pointed out, I was like, yeah, and at that time I also didn't know that one of the females that I pointed to was Tiffany Swanee's little sister. Had no idea. So it was one of those her, and her. Yeah, like they would have been able to make varsity in New Jersey, which upset a bunch of the JV squad that were not considered in that. And it was just, I don't really care. I'm telling you the truth. You know, they actually do stuff, whereas, you know, cheerleading, yes, part of it is yelling and doing certain motions, but from what I've seen, you guys could be in the stands and still not stand out. That's just, that didn't go over so well. I know for a fact Kenny and Dale would wish to have been able to see every one of the cheerleaders' faces for that. I know that for a fact. Maybe there's video footage somewhere. And there was a police substation in Crystal Lake South. I'm just throwing that out there. Anyway, so Tiffany Oswainy assigned, you know, she decided to take over. That sort of thing. I was like, whatever. You don't even, you at that point, we had not gone to cheerleading competition yet, so it's like, you still think this team is going to win first place. No. Even if it was the only team, the score would be so low. Irony, probably would have actually been the score that would have been earned in comparison to the only other team that was at that competition. Probably would have actually gotten the numbers deserved instead of making people feel better. Anyway, Tiffany Oswainy was like, oh, this will be a good idea. And I'm like, okay, are you trying to steal from the JV squad? Did you go and research what I was talking about, and you don't have the decency to, number one, admit that I'm accurate? Number two, tell the other co-captains and the rest of the varsity and JV squad that I was accurate. And number three, like, you're looking at stealing certain things. Now, yes, I know the dichotomy is when I went to the competition, I had to use a cheer that I had been taught, only because I thought it was cool. I did not have any plans of being, no. I know that people from New Jersey know that. They might have been upset, but they very much knew not not the normal thing for someone like me at all. So, and absolutely only under duress. And the irony is, I think that if they saw it, they'd be like, she actually did it right. She would never have made it past JV. If she probably would have never made it onto JV, but at least she did the cheer right. At least, like, that's the only thing I could think of that people from New Jersey that went to St. John Vianney High School that would have seen that cheer. It would have been like, yeah, well, at least she did that part right. We couldn't get the freshman to do that right. We got her. Apparently she could do that. She can't do anything other than a freaking cartwheel and a round off, but, you know, I mean, at least she can, at least she got that right. But anyway, I digress. So Tiffany Oswainy, was trying to be all sneaky, and it's like, ugh, you horse face. Anyway, she had set that up. I wound up being whatever the person is that's behind the person who's going to go in the mount and puts them into the like it's 1, 2, 3, and then up, and then you put them in, and then the people that are the base are the ones that put them in the thing, and then you catch them. I don't remember the terms. And I had asked and said, could I actually be one of the bases? And Tiffany Oswainy was like, no, you're not strong enough. I was like, irony. I could probably throw your sister the way Michelle throws me. Easily. Like, by myself. Like, could probably pick her up, throw her, do a couple of swing dance moves, like just kind of spin her around, be like, oh, gotcha. And, I mean, realistically. Well, I also admit I didn't know my full strength at that time. And I don't know whether or not Tiffany Oswani's little sister had heard the back and forth between Tiffany Oswainy and I before this whole thing had gone, because it was her idea. We have to do this whole thing. It's like, really don't think that I should be the person that does that part. I think I should be one of the bases. Well, picked up Tiffany Oswani's little sister, who was like barely 100 pounds. And it was 1, 2, 3, up, and oh, she liked it. Well, I guess I'll redirect that energy and just throw her upward with these guys. Okay, there you go. But then I apparently it was a little much. So then the two bases lost hold of her footing, and I had to run and catch her. I was like, you okay? Sorry about that. That was before throwing the kitchen table, by the way, or the cafeteria table. And so it was just one of those, sorry, I didn't do that on purpose. And I don't know whether or not she actually believed me at the time, because, sibling rivalry between her and Tiffany. But also, one of those, at that point, I told her, I asked to actually be a base. So, I do apologize for kind of throwing you a little high in the air. But, I at least caught you and you didn't fall. At least there's that. And so, though I don't know if that actually was much of a consolation for her, because she just looked pissed, and it's like, with these, whatever. So, there was a point where one of the guys at high school at Crystal Lake South comes up to me, and I knew he was on the football team, but I didn't know anything as far as much about him or anything like that. He was in one of my classes junior year, and he was like, hey, and I was like, hi, and we had talked a bunch of times. He goes, do you want to go out on a date? I mean, I guess we could. Sure, right? I mean, I guess. I'm old enough now. Or I'm getting old enough or something like that. It was along those lines. And my biological parents said it could be a little bit early, but I mean, I was already technically 16, but it was one of the, let's see how this goes. And so, went to Clayton Vansicle's house. I rode my bike over there because he wasn't that far, because of the way the neighborhood was set up. I go over there, and his dad was working on, I think it was a 72 or 73 Barracuda in the garage. Nice, dark, silver, white wall tires, exhaust, just hard top, leather interior, manual transmission, just, and I walked in. I did not see his dad at all. I did not. I just saw the car in the garage. I was like, hello, how you doing? Yes, hi. His dad pops up and he goes, what? I was talking to the car. What's her name? His dad goes, okay, you were talking to the car. Yeah, she's a nice piece of metal. Look at that. What's the horsepower of that sweet thing right there, huh? And his dad's like, well, I'm the original owner, and she's just, I mean, and I'm just like, yeah, that's right. How you doing? Look at you. Look at you. Oh, those are even, you didn't even have to get replacement handles on that. Nice. How you doing? And his dad was just, so yeah, yeah, and you want to see what's under the hood? Absolutely. How you doing? And he pops the hood and he's like, see, I chromed it. Oh, yes, you did. Look at that. Engine's so clean. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. You wash that out, don't you? And he was like, yeah, I do. I was like, oh, you take care of your cars. Good. Ooh, that's nice. Look at that. And I was just going on. And he's like, and he's leaning on the car. He's like, so yeah, who are you? Like, I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Susan. And he's like, yeah, hi. I'm like, so is Clayton ready? Is this what I get to go into? Is this? And he was like, you're gonna date Clayton? You're the one going on a date with Clayton? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, at least that's an upgrade. And I was like, who did he date before? And he was like, I'm not talking about it. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So, that's, she's pretty. She's so pretty. Oh, she's pretty. Can I have her? I want this. I like this barracuda. She's pretty. And he's like, you even know the name of the car? Absolutely. Sorry, don't mind that I touched the car, right? And he's like, how do you know the name of the car? You didn't even walk around the back. And I was like, oh, my biological father had me babysat by some grease monkeys of of a garage, and I got to see some of these pretty babies. I mean, not nearly in as good condition because they were in the garage, but when they left the garage, they were looking nice. I talked with his dad for like an hour and a half before his dad was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go get Clayton now. Sure, I can't have her. She's so pretty. He's like, yeah, I'm leaving it to Clayton. And I'm like, oh, I'll take better care of her. I promise. He's like, I have a feeling you would. Just say it's so pretty. It's not best she's got a nice engine and just roar. And he's like, yes. Oh, Clayton. And apparently Susan's here. Who is Susan? Where did she come from? The rest of the time I'm in the garage looking at the barracuda. I'm like, yes. Just ironically circling around the barracuda like a shark, because it's like, yes. How you doing? Yes. Look at you. Yes. What a nice little grill you have. I mean, I just, And those who saw the car back then know, and those who know Barracudas, I mean, heavy engine. Didn't even have like 70,000 miles on it. Yeah, that was like before the turn of the century, yeah, or millennium, whatever, yeah. Not even 70,000 miles on that car. Pristine condition. Oh, it was so nice. If you can't tell, I really like that car. A lot more ironically than the boy I wound up going on a date with, and it was actually quite a disappointment when it wound up being like, oh, that's not right. I like your dad's car better. I also like older guys, so that makes a lot more sense. Okay, well, you stayed looking nice. Like, it just... Clayton looks over at me and goes, did you just, like, blow a kiss to my dad's car? Yes, I did. Oh, you're gonna... Okay, I guess I'll open my own door. Okay. This date's not gonna go very well. Like, apparently. Alright. I don't care if I'm driving. I don't care if I'm a passenger. I very much believe in chivalry. So if it thing for me. Anyway, so I don't even remember. I think we went to Colonial Cafe or something like that. And whatever. Then there were cheerleaders who were there. And I was just like, alright, hi. They came over and they're like, oh, so what are you doing here? I'm guessing this is what is considered a date. I mean, it was just one of those, well, I guess if this is what a date is, okay. And I'm reminded why I like older males. By a lot. By a lot. I just don't have patience for lack of class despite high school, I think. Or at least mature individuals. Whatever. At that point, because I did say that out loud, Clayton looks at me and he goes, well, aren't you snobby? And I would look at him and I go, you didn't open my door. And he goes, what's that supposed to mean? And I'm like, the fact that you even had to ask that question says all I need to know. So, some of the cheerleaders start asking questions and they're like, so do you think you're going to be dating very long? Probably not. It's probably going to be the only date. Probably. And Clayton was... Did you just say that? And I looked at him and said, yes, I did. By the beginning portion of this date, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, were you looking at me as girlfriend material? Oh, yeah. I already told you I'm not staying in Crystal Lake. And he was like, no, but you know, you're like, perfect, my dad actually likes you compared to my ex-girlfriend. And the cheerleaders all went, oh. And I was like, well, you know, I'll take your dad's car with me. I like your dad's car. I don't know how you came out looking like you do, because your dad looks so much better than you do. Said that got in trouble. Clayton was not happy with that statement. I was like, I don't care. Your dad is so much better looking than you. I don't know how you're the product of that. I'm just saying, like, there's not enough plastic surgery to fix that, like, at all. And the cheerleaders were back and forth between a to a hee to a and it was just one of those, whatever. Well, apparently, I'll get to that. Because obviously there's a reason, right? Why all the cheerleaders like, Susan, why are you on a date with Clayton? Susan, why are you on a... I don't... He asked me out. I was just, irony of the type of car, testing the waters. And so, and not really that impressed. At all. And so... Clayton shooed the cheerleaders away, and I was like, you don't have to be rude. Just saying, you don't have to be rude. And, after we finished eating at Colonial Cafe, just went and, for whatever excuse, cruised the Strip while on the date. Okay. And then, whatever. Now, if driving the Barracuda could actually cruise the Strip, and that wouldn't have been so bad. But whatever the car was that he was driving, I was like, yeah, whatever. So then he was like, I know this area that's under construction. You want to go look at it? Oh, cool. Yeah, I like construction. That's cool. Go drive out to this area, and I'm looking. I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Some forestry. That foundation was laid correctly. That one was not. That house gonna have some issues. However, I'm not buying it, so whatever. And so Clayton is looking at me. He's like, "Really? This is weird." Whatever. And so he's like, "Hey, let's get on top of the car and look at the stars, because you can see the stars out here." It's like, you get on top of your car? You're supposed to get in your car, not on top of your car, but okay. Look up. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, you can see the stars, okay. And he was like, oh, I got some music that I can play. And I was like, why are you ruining this with music? I mean, I like music, don't get me wrong, but why are you ruining this with music? Whatever. And so, he put on country music, and I was like, oh, okay, I like that. What's that? And he goes, it's Garth Brooks. I'm like, oh, I like this. I like that a lot. What? Where? Like, I like that. Is that a fiddle or a violin in the background? And he was just like, what the? Why are you asking about the music instead of listening? I am listening to the music. That's why I'm asking you about it. And, it just blew Clayton away. It was just like, what? Okay. I'm like, I want to switch some of this out because I want to hear, some of the other songs. He's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah. And I start going through ooh, I like this. It was, I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away, and I'll be okay. And I'm just like, oh, I like that. And he looks at me, he's like, really, that's the song that you like? Well, I like a lot of them, but at this particular moment, I really like that song. And he's like, do you understand that that's like a little gangster? And I was like, it is, and go ahead. I guess if you listen to the lyrics, I could see that. I could see that. And he was just like, that's of this album, that's the one that you're gonna pick. Well, I mean, I like the other ones too, but at this point in time, while looking at you, yeah, it just kind of seems befitting. It does. It just seems befitting. And he was just like, okay, how does it seem befitting? I don't know. I'm sure time will tell. Irony when it comes to my Medal of Honor art project. And so... So then he was like, well, I don't want to listen to that one. I was like, okay, that's a good song. All right, fine. So he puts on complete different type of music. Aerosmith. And he goes, do you recognize this song? I was like, nope. Not at all. I've heard Aerosmith before, but I do not recognize this song. And he goes, how would you know Aerosmith, but not know country music? Did grow up in New Jersey. I don't know, maybe there's somebody in the state of New Jersey that likes Aerosmith that I've known hypothetically. I mean, you know, possibly a couple of people. And he was like, so how do you know Aerosmith? I don't know them personally. I'm just saying I know the music. And, you know, if that's the name of the band, then yeah, I know this. I know this by sound. And he was just like, oh, well, this is from a movie and it's from the most romantic part of the movie. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes, did you get something in your eye? And he was just, no. I was just saying it's like from the most romantic part of the movie. Okay, well, what's the movie about? Then he had to explain it. I was like, so, like, basically the guy dies and doesn't get to, and you consider that romantic? Not, like, actually being in a relationship together and stuff, but the guy dies. And you're all like, that's what you consider romantic? Ugh, you're like the females I went to see the Titanic with when I should have gone to see Biodome. Ugh, you're like, you're a male version of that? Ugh, this date is over. Oh, this date is over. Take me back to my house. Ugh, this is over. I don't want to, oh no. And he was like, but it's the romantic part. Again, if you find the romantic part of whatever the movie is when the guy dies and the female and male do not get to be together whatsoever, why would you think that's romantic? I don't see how that's romantic at all. I see that as like sad and like hope, like other stuff, but since it's a movie, I don't really care in other regards. But like in real life, would hope, you know, the female was able to move on and find, you know, happiness and all that sort of stuff, because apparently the guy died. So, you know, what is wrong with your eyes? Because he kept doing this irony of N as in November 208 mail, and it was just one of those. I need to go back to my house. I don't want to continue this date anymore. Like, I'm just done. Oh, but you know, can you drive if you're like blinking like that? Do you need to go to the doctor? Do you need some medical attention? I was being completely serious, of course. I was not being mean. It was legitimately asking, and he was like, no. Fine, I guess I'll take you back. I was like, thank you. Ridiculous. Get back to his dad's house, because that's where my bike was, or parents' house. And my bicycle was in, though I drove it fast. I did. Anyway, I did some stuff that was not meant for that bicycle to do. For those who may not know of how I rode that bicycle, think of a lot of speed than the way I drive a car. I didn't always take the path. And so I was, anyway, what is it called, motocross or something like that. Anyway, get back, and my bike was inside the garage, and I was like, oh, darn. Gonna see that barracuda again. Like that. Darn. His dad runs out, and he's like, did the date go okay? And I'm like, I cannot say what I am thinking right now, but what I can tell you is, I really like your barracuda. Are you sure I can't have it? Can I have it, please? May I? Please, please. So pretty. You're like, oh. No, I can't give it to you. Take my bike then. So mad. He's gonna wreck the car, you know that, right? He's not gonna know how to handle that sort of power. As the dad was opening the garage, and he was just like, he'll be, no, he won't. He doesn't know anything. I will take such good care of that car. I will polish her every day. Like, I will spend hours putting wax on the car and waxing it off. And I will take care of her. My tummy hurts. And so, got my bike, and I went back to my biological parents' house. And then, you know, the next week at school, Clayton walks up to me, and he's like, so, it's over. Oh, what is? There were a bunch of people around who was in the pit. And what is? And he's like, you know, a relationship. We went on one date. You consider that a relationship? Okay. Sure. It's over. Whatever. And I walk off, and he's like, I cheated on you. And I'm like, okay. Whatever. One date. One date and one date only, apparently. And you thought that was a relationship? I mean, I guess for as slow as that date drug on, I guess I could see how you would consider that a relationship. And I just lay it out, and he's just, well, I dumped you. Well, you know, congratulations. You dumped me, and you cheated on me after one date. You can keep that, and don't hurt your dad's car, because that is such a pretty car. You don't deserve it whatsoever. And a bunch of people in the pit were all like, ooh, it was high school. And I don't care. I don't care. Well, fast forward to cheerleading practice. Tiffany Oswainy pops in, and she's like, oh, today's the best day, blah, 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 blah. Cool. And she goes, Susan, how was your day? Oh, well, you know, went through classes and, you know, hung out with some friends and, you know, typical day. And she was like, anything different happen? I mean, it's high school, so you're going to have to define different to me. And she was like, you know, any troubles? Oh. I mean, I had some issues understanding certain parts of science class, but that was about it. different terminology, but then I looked at the Latin words and I was okay. Why? What are you talking about? She was like, did any heartbreak happen? No. Not at all. And some of the cheerleaders, they were kind of like, what is going on? And I'm just, why are you acting stupid? She was like, well, I wanted to tell you that I had the best day today. Okay, cool. Congratulations. I don't care. I'm not staying in this town, and you are proving to me why. Ugh. And she goes, well, don't you want to know why today was the best day for me? Okay. Why? And Tiffany Oswainy goes, my ex-boyfriend and I got back together. Oh. Congratulations. Probably should have stayed an ex for a reason, but whatever. Okay. Don't care. At all. And she was like, don't you want to know who my ex-boyfriend is? I don't care. I don't know why you are trying to rub salt in a wound that I don't care about. But go ahead if you need attention, Tiffany Oswainy. You obviously have the center of the floor. You have every cheerleader in here's attention, and then you have my attention. So go ahead. What, little girl? And I was sitting on one of the bleachers. She was just, Tiffany looks at me, she goes, Clayton and I got back together. Cool, good for you. And I go back to speaking who I was speaking with, which happened to be one of the cheerleaders who had been at Colonial Cafe. And she was like, Susan, do you get it? She's like, no, because I don't care. It just does not seem important. And Tiffany Oswainy goes, are you saying that my relationship and me getting back together with Clayton isn't important? Yes, that is exactly what I just said without so many words. And she was like, well, I just want you to know that I stole Clayton from you. One date. One single date with that. And it was a bad date. And if you want to hold yourself as that being a high standard, wow, life is going to be really hard for you in the real world. Oh, it is. It's going to be a really hard life for you once you get smacked with that. And I don't mean just the ugly stick that you got born with as you got hit on every way down. And she was just, are you saying that my face is ugly? I was talking about your personality, but, if the shoe fits, I think you need to tie your shoe right now. Because ironically, her lace was untied. So she started lacing her shoe. She was like, are you saying that I'm ugly as she's tying her shoe? Oh, she was mad. Oh, she was mad. I was like, I don't care. I don't like you at all. I mean, I don't like you at all, but whatever this is, I don't have patience for this. I got planning to do. I got stuff I gotta think about, and this is not what I need to think about at all. Irony right now, because if they were dumb enough to mess with my Medal of Honor art project, well, neither of them understood about why I was getting prepared for the military, for the United States of America's Armed Forces. No, very few of the cheerleaders actually did. There were only, so Michelle understood. She didn't fully understand, but she got it much better. Same thing with a female named Kelly. Same thing with Mindy, and Melody really understood that, mainly because of her mom, though. Her mom really understood. She was from Poland. And when I got to meet Melody's mom and brother, we had talked, and she and her, I think he was an ex-husband by that point, like they had immigrated to the United States of America legally, from Poland, and Mrs. Mendini and I spent so much time talking, and she'd have her cigarettes, I'd have my cigarettes, we'd sit there in the kitchen talking over coffee while Melody got ready. Mrs. Mendini was like, oh, you actually take care of my Melody. I was like, well, I didn't know that she had diabetes issues, but, I mean, that when I started picking up on certain things energetically, and she was like, oh, Susan, oh, thank you. And I was like, okay. Because there were a couple of times where I didn't know that Melody had any health issues at that point. And it was just one of those, hey, are you okay? And she was like, I'm just having some issues. And it's like, you need me to get you a candy bar or something? You need me to get you something to drink, or what you need? You okay? And she had told her mom about that. And then that was when Mrs. Mendini was like, bring her over to the house. Like, bring her over. And went over to the house, and Mrs. Mendini was like, thank you. Like, Melody tries to be all strong because, and then that was when I learned about the diabetes thing, and I was like, oh, there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. I mean, it's a medical condition. I'm glad I kind of picked up on it, so that way she didn't, like, pass out and go into a comatose. That's a good thing. But yeah, it's no big deal, man. And so, spent hours. Like, anytime went to go hang out with Melody, usually spent a couple of hours talking with Mrs. Mendini before we went anywhere. I was actually sad when Melody went to college because I was like, I don't get to see your mom. I mean, I'm going to miss you too. I don't get to hang out with your mom as often. I mean, I do want to hang out with you too, but your mom's so cool. She is smart. She survived some stuff. Seriously. And none of the cheerleaders were respectful to Mrs. Mendini, and it was one of those, oof, that is someone you don't want to piss off. She might be short. Don't let that fool you. Do not let that fool you. Do not let her sweet voice fool you. Do not let her height fool you. She will mess you up in ways you have never seen before. And Mendini don't go around. No. Do not make that mistake. Absolutely not. And some of the cheerleaders were like, whatever, Susan. It's like, no. I knew people like that in the East Coast area. You don't mess with them. I mean, I had no plans to mess with her at all. But then when she told me where she was from, I was like, oof, okay. Oof. As someone you don't want to make mad at all whatsoever. Those cheerleaders didn't understand. It's like, why do you have to be the stereotype? Why? Like, I knew cheerleaders in New Jersey. The majority of them did not fit that stereotype. The majority of the cheerleaders I knew in New Jersey were actually smart. Why do you have to be the stereotype here in, of all places, Crystal Lake, Illinois? Ugh. That didn't go over so well. on that note, pun intended, you guys have a good one. Like and share and subscribe to my channel and check out the information tab. Have a good one.